This is KGW News at Sunrise.
It seems like the movement that originally existed has been hijacked.
The real message now lost as the demonstrations in downtown Portland continue into their 9th week. Some worry the backlash will change how people view the Black Lives Matter movement. And a new option to connect with our loved ones in long-term care. The pandemic has kept many seniors separated from family, but a rule change could help bring them together.
There is no change when it comes to the local weather forecast. Temperatures around the area we know hit triple digits yesterday, and we could reach that 100-degree mark again today, my friends.
Woo! Yes, we hope you stayed cool yesterday. It was hot. We've got our summer colors on. Good Monday morning to you guys. And Drew, welcome back. We missed you last week. Did you have a good vacation?
Never mind the vacation. You know how sometimes on a Sunday evening you get that Monday morning work week dread?
Yep, 100%.
I got that Saturday morning when I woke up. So, but after 48 hours of dealing with that, I am ready for the work week. Happy Monday to you.
All right, absolutely. We got to bring in Joe Ranieri. He's in for Rod today. It was a scorcher yesterday. Tell us about Monday.
It's going to be just as hot. Did I hear Nina go give a woo here at 5 o'clock in the morning for the heat? Yeah, it's going to be downright hot, a scorcher for the second day in a row, and it's going to be staying just as hot over the next couple of days. It's going to be right around 100 degrees this afternoon, 90 for tomorrow and into Wednesday. And because of that heat, you guys, we are going to be still under that heat advisory throughout much of the metro area, all the way until 9 o'clock tonight. You'll notice lots of other watches and warnings have to do with the fire danger throughout the central and eastern side of the state. I'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. Well, another weekend of protests in Portland. There were several all throughout the weekend, some in downtown, others in North and Northeast Portland. Last night, several hundred people gathered again outside the federal courthouse, where we've seen them night after night. Police say some people threw fireworks over the fence surrounding the building. A few others tried climbing over it. They also saw one person cutting through the fence. Federal officers there, you see, using tear gas and flashbang grenade styles. Portland police on their part say they did not engage with crowds, use CS gas, or make any arrests. Well, earlier in the day, we saw other groups organize. One met in Northeast Portland and honored civil rights leaders like the late Congressman John Lewis. A group of lawyers also met at the Salmon Street Fountain downtown. And then on Saturday, we saw teachers gather in Cathedral Park in North Portland. 2 people are in custody after a shooting near the downtown protest. This happened at 4th and Salmon just before 7:30 last night. Police say one person, believed to be connected with the shooting, arrived at the hospital with a gunshot wound. Stay tuned. We will pass along any more details as we get them. Portland police also finding 4 loaded rifle magazines and 2 Molotov cocktails in a bag near the courthouse. They tweeted out this photo last night. Officers say a person spotted the bag and tipped them off. Well, for weeks now, we have seen a cycle of violence between officers and some protesters committing criminal acts.
During that same time frame, Brenda, Black community leaders in Portland have been calling for peace. Tim Gordon covers that angle for us this morning. The concern is that the destruction downtown is actually distracting from the message of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Another Saturday night of Portland's ongoing protests that ultimately end in violent clashes between a small group of people and police. PSU Black Studies professor Shirley Jackson says this isn't helping.
And I'm going to use the word that many people in the Black community are using, and that is, it seems like the movement that originally existed has been hijacked.
Protests began 60 days ago in response to the police killing of George Floyd and other Black people across the country. The call for tangible change to end systemic racism, Jackson says, is being lost.
It's almost as though the African American community has been forgotten in large part, and the people who have now taken center stage may not be aware of their own privilege in directing this movement into something that was not intended. And there is the real fear that this is going to have a backlash with respect to not only how people look at the Black Lives Matter movement, but how they look at, say, Portland.
And it's not all about the chaos and the cleanup and repairs of damage from the night before. It's about thousands of mostly white people, many well-meaning, standing against federal officers on the streets of Portland. Many would argue that's a worthy cause, too. But Jackson is asking the white community to refocus.
I would actually say at this point, keep trying to draw attention to the fact that there was a particular protest. It was the Black Lives Matter protest that really was the focus initially.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Among the thousands of people protesting downtown over the weekend were women from the Wall of Moms group, a group that says it's taking what local black leaders are saying to heart. The Wall of Moms is a mostly white group that's been showing up to protests for more than a week and getting national attention along the way. The moms now say they're handing over the leadership reins of the racial equality group Don't Shoot Portland to black organizers. In a statement, the Wall of Moms said there is no context where white or non-black women should be leading a group whose goal is liberation and justice for black people. Protesters in Seattle are picking up some new momentum while showing solidarity with Portland. Federal agents are on standby now to protect federal buildings there. On Saturday, Seattle police made 47 arrests after declaring a riot in the city's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Demonstrators set fire to a construction site for a youth detention center. Shops like the Starbucks here were vandalized, and the East Police Precinct was also damaged. Police say 59 officers were hurt during that chaos over the weekend. The situation here in Portland sparked several other protests around the country this weekend. Let's start in Austin, Texas, where police say a protester with a rifle was shot and killed by a man in a car driving through a crowd. In Aurora, Colorado, someone in the crowd there shot at an SUV that was driving down the interstate toward protesters. Investigators say a protester was also shot there. And there was a shooting at a protest in Louisville, Kentucky. So altogether, at least 5 people were shot at protests over the weekend. We're also following a shooting investigation closer to home this morning in a remote part of Marion County east of Silverton. Detectives say 3 men were shot yesterday afternoon near Scotts Mills. All 3 were taken to the hospital, but there's no word on how they're doing. It's also unclear what led up to the shootings, but the Marion County Sheriff's Office says there is no threat right now to the public.
All right, let's get you caught up on the latest with coronavirus. Oregon is reporting another 277 new cases. It marks the first time since Wednesday that we've seen daily infections dip below 300. So the state is getting close to 17,000 total cases since the pandemic began. The Oregon Health Authority blames this rise on people getting together for social gatherings. 9 deaths were reported Friday, 4 Saturday, and 3 Sunday. Well, you heard Joe talking about how temperatures are expected to soar near 100 degrees again today. The pandemic has closed a lot of cooling centers in our area, but local groups are still working to help people. KGW's Bryant Clerkley is live with more on what you can do to keep cool. Good morning, Bryant.
Good morning, Nina. And that is right. Now, the pandemic has closed a lot of pools and splash pads in the city, as well as cooling centers, but they're still trying to help the people in need. Now, back in April, the CDC put out guidelines now discouraging cooling centers from opening up unless they could allow room to physically distance as well as sanitation. Multnomah County says it's a lot harder to have the center because of social distancing. Now, Dennis Thorold works for Multnomah County and Portland's Joint Office of Homeless Services. His outreach teams are delivering water and supplies to the homeless. The county has been stocked up because of the pandemic and the CARES Act.
For us, COVID has made some things easier in that we have a storage supply site downtown. It's something that we've been using all throughout the pandemic.
Now, the county is also giving fans out to vulnerable communities of color and seniors. Thorold says it's a good idea to call and check on your neighbors during the heat. And authorities also want to remind people to wear life jackets when they're swimming in rivers and to also watch for currents. They want you to be extra careful when you're out on the water. Nina?
Yeah, people looking for relief. All right, Bryant Clerkley live for us this morning. Thanks. Okay, let's get the latest on the hot weather. Boy, I was sitting in the kiddie pool all day yesterday and having to add new water because it was getting warm, but it felt good in there.
It really did, Nina, and we're still going to be seeing the second day with temperatures right around at 100 degrees. Yesterday, we saw record-breaking heat with a high of 100 degrees. The old record was 97 degrees. As we look at the weather headlines, it'll be staying hot again today and a good part of the week, but this is going to be the last day where we're looking at temperatures right around the 100, maybe the low 100s in a few spots. They could see our first back-to-back day of 100 degrees since 2017, and it's going to be staying sunny and warm most of this week. We'll slowly start to see our temperatures drop heading down into tomorrow, but still today, looking at temperatures in the low 70s throughout the morning hours. By midday, temperature of 92 degrees. So hopefully you can set those tea times up earlier in the day, because by the afternoon, I don't think many people are going to be swinging clubs around 100-degree temperatures. But again, things will start to improve heading into the later part of the week. I'll talk more about that in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, that heat really zaps your energy. All right, Joe, thank you. Local nonprofit Blanchet House is helping the homeless during this hot stretch. Today, they're giving out reusable water bottles that volunteers collected over the weekend.
Everything's locked down. They can't go indoors anywhere. The city can't open up cooling shelters because of social distancing requirements. There's not a lot of shade in Old Town, and there's not a lot of access to water. So if we don't hand out water on this side of Old Town, there aren't a lot of opportunities for the people out here to stay hydrated in this heat.
But they've given out so many, they're already running low on them. So you can donate water bottles by going to blanchethouse.org.